Hello and welcome back to Tartan Touchdown, Scotland's voice and the conversation around the world of American football. It's the second part of our Women's Flag Football League Finals Chat Show. Whoever came up with that name, which was probably me, is a silly person. But if you haven't watched, make sure you go ahead and watch part one, but after and only after you finish this one. I am delighted to be joined by four more incredible women who are all heading to finals this weekend and hopefully sunnier Scotland, and all fighting for a chance at taking home the silverware. So first up, a member of the reigning champions, the Coventry Panthers, it's Abi Snelson. Abi, how are you tonight?
I am very good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Very excited to have you on. Joining us from Leicester Huntsmen, it's Charlotte Knight. How are you, Charlotte?
Thanks for having me along.
Yeah,
thank you.
No problem. Oh, exciting time, yes. And then from the Manchester Titans, we'll be talking to Tika Marucci. Welcome back, Tika. It's so nice to have you back on.
Sarah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, great. I love this. This is my favourite episode that we do. Well, I know we've only done one last year because we've only been on for 2 seasons, but it's my favourite, so it's fine. And then finally joining us from London Flame, we have Joch Frimpong. Joch, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Right. So we have plenty to run through this evening, building up to what was one of my favourite events on the 2025 calendar, and very much looking forward to this weekend. So what we'll do is we're going to go around the teams, we're going to talk about some of the key story points of the season and looking ahead to the finals. And we'll start with the Coventry Panthers and Abi. All right. So Abi, you'll know this, but I'm going to, for anybody who doesn't know, the Panthers finished the regular season 13-3, scoring 35.3 points per game while allowing just 6.1. Once again being one of the strongest offences and defences in the league. They head into the playoffs as the number 3 seed in the MSC and will face the Sheffield Giants in the quarterfinals, which is a rematch of last year's playoff meeting. So let's start with last season. That 21-20 championship win over the Coventry Cougars, which came down to the wire. Players like Hannah Elliott, who scored the sudden death winner, along with Laura Carter and Abi making key defensive plays, had huge moments that day. What stands out to you from that final, and how much did that experience shape this team going into this season?
I think what stood out from the final was, the fact that we are able to be a, national champion team. I think, for us to have got to that level after, having not necessarily played before, I was new to the team, Hannah was new to the team, so was Jodie. I just think, we believe we could get there, but I think it all comes down to that. We were staying composed under pressure. It was just like the grit in that game was just something that I hadn't experienced to that point. And just the camaraderie, everyone coming together. It wasn't necessarily just the people that were on the field. It was everyone on the sideline as well. We really, really were so lucky with our sideline support. And, we had people carrying bin bags for people who felt sick. People who were just doing everything, going above and beyond for anyone and everyone. And I think, that really, really helped us win that game. It wasn't just the people on the field. It was everyone. It was a team effort.
Yeah, you've segued perfect to my next question, which is because one thing people always say about the Panthers is how tight the group is both on and off the field. How important do you think that team chemistry is for you all when you're competing at such a high level?
Incredibly important. I mean, I was so fortunate. I'd come into the Panthers and that culture was already so embedded. And I think I hadn't been in a flag team anyway for 7 years, and that it was only a really small team when I was playing. And so naturally you are really close. Come into the Panthers, there's a lot of people. I think there was around 20 people at the time, and still everyone's so close. Everyone's so supportive of one another. Everyone just makes you feel really safe, really welcome, and it was just such an incredible environment. And that is really, really, really important. Without that close connection, you don't have that close connection on the field. And if you don't have that on the field, if you don't have that level of trust in your teammates, then it really does translate to your performance. And I think as well, having been in the GB setup, that's also, been empowering in showing how important it really is. We've been really fortunate in being able to take that experience and bring it to the Panthers. And I think, there's a few of us that have been able to do that and embed that culture and, really, really show how important it is. And, to know your teammates, to know what they need in certain times, especially being a new team. We didn't necessarily know what some people needed in their times of need. When people are dropping balls and they have their head down, what does that player need in that moment in order to pick themselves back up and perform at the level that we know that they can play at? I just think the Panthers, they have an incredible culture. They always have. And we've really tried to, continue to embed that culture, even with so many new players in the team.
Yeah, I think that's a very obvious and key part of the success, obviously, for last year and then the success of this year so far. So looking at the season, you opened the season facing the Coventry Cougars twice in the first 2 game weeks, including right after many of you returned from playing together for Great Britain. What is it like going from teammates at Euros straight back to rivals in the domestic season?
It's definitely been a little bit strange to navigate. You're so close-knit as a team in GB, they're your sisters. You do anything for them. They are your teammates. The bond is ridiculously strong. And then, going up on a field, you're a DB, they're a receiver. And it's almost like, oh my gosh, now actually I have to make sure that you don't catch that ball. I don't want you to catch that ball. So it is really strange trying to navigate that adjustment of wanting them to do really well. I mean, I still want them to do really well. That's not what I'm trying to say. But, I realistically, I want my team to win. I want us to do better. So yeah, it is definitely strange to navigate, but I think ultimately, if they make a good play, I'll congratulate them. I'm not gonna be frustrated at that. At the end of the day, I'll just be supportive, but realistically, I do want to win. I do want my team to win. So I'll encourage them. I'll be happy for them, but ultimately, not too much.
A good level. Yeah, I always think that's a really great thing about like women's sport and female sport is that like everybody is friends, even if they're not necessarily teammates all the time. You still want, especially because the sport is continuing to grow at such a rapid pace. If we can make the sport as encouraging and as friendly as possible, it's just encouraging more people to join it and give it a go. So yeah, I completely agree. But you're right to also be like, I have to win this one, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I need to focus on me and my team. And then, when you do make a great play, I'm not going to, pretend like it didn't happen or side eye you. I'm going to be happy because as well, you are my teammate. So, it is great to see you do so well, but, I won't
like maybe do that when we're playing together next time. That would be great.
Yeah. You do that when you're on my team as well, and then I'll be super happy.
Exactly. So you've also played a lot of the season without quarterback Alice Briggs, yet the team actually has improved its scoring from 34 points per game last year to over 35 this year. How do you think the team's been able to adapt and still manage to build on last season's success?
I mean, honestly, absolute hats off to Laura and kudos to her for taking on a role and position that she didn't necessarily want to do. That level of resiliency, I really admire that because as we all know, stepping into a role that you don't necessarily feel confident or comfortable enough to do is difficult, but then QB is a whole other level. So yeah, I mean, I think our coaches adjusted and adapted really well. I think that in itself, that's so important because they need to they're the ones making the play calls. They're the ones making the judgment, that kind of thing. So they adapted really well. They kept their cool. They know, this might not necessarily be what we expected, what we planned, what we hoped for, but we're going to take it on the chin. We're going to make the most of it. And we're just going to play our game. We're going to play football. We're going to do the basics. We're not going to expect Laura to throw some, balls from one side of the field to the other. We're going to do simple stuff and we're going to try and do it well. And, we're just going to execute. And, that's what we did. And I think there's a lot of pressure, if you've won something going into the next season, there's a lot of pressure to kind of uphold that and maintain that. And I think Laura did a really, really good job of stepping into the, Alice's role and, Alice's boots, because Alice also did an incredible job last year of being our QB. But yeah, I just think the coaches did so well with making sure there was a lot of different options. They kind of planned for a lot of things and we just followed their lead and then adjusted to that. And then now, thank goodness, Alice is back. So we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. She can just fit right back in perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
Okay.
It was like she'd never left.
Never. Well, you kind of mentioned it there as well, but you, as the kind of season went on, definitely were kind of like finding the rhythm, and even if it was maybe more of a simple kind of play design, they really were starting to kick in. Because you end up being undefeated in game days 4 and 5, and you now face the Sheffield Giants in the quarterfinals. Do you feel the team was peaking kind of at the right time, and what do you think will be the key to getting through that first playoff game?
Yes and no. We did lose some games in the initial few game days that were really, really important and, did affect our seeding. We have obviously gone undefeated in the last 2. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're peaking at the right time. I think we did realise in that last game day against Flame that we still have a lot of work to do. And from then we have put in a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of energy into making sure that we go into that finals as prepared as possible. Like watching film, doing extra training camps. We've all done as much as we can so that when we go into the finals, we don't have any regrets. We can go into that Giants game knowing we've done everything we can do to try and win, and then go to the next game and try and win. Like that's our aim. We just want to put our best football out there, and we don't want to go into it with any regrets. And especially with having won last year, there is that kind of added pressure of, that we want to win again. And we know how good it feels to win as well. So there's also that. But yeah, I think yes and no in the sense of we did win all our games in those 2 game days, but we realised there was a lot of work to put in. Just basic football, basic fundamental stuff like our depth and our footwork. Like we looked at film and we were like, that's not how we play simple football. That's not how we win. We should be winning by bigger margins as well. So it's just kind of, I'd say yes and no.
That's a perfectly good answer. Well, Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Abby, and best of luck for this weekend. We'll be obviously keeping a close eye on how the Panthers get on during playoff Saturday. Very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So we are now going to speak to Charlotte from Leicester Huntsmen, who head into finals weekend after another competitive season. So the Huntsmen finished 9-6-1, securing the number 4 seed in the MSC, and they'll face another set of words which is quite difficult to say together. The East Kilbride Pirates Black in the quarterfinals this weekend. And it's another step forward for the team after finishing 4th last season and missing the finals completely back in 2023. So there's definitely been steady progress. So let's start with the season as a whole. Mentioned you finished 9-6-1, which is enough to secure the number 4, and there were a lot of competitive games throughout the year. How would you sum up the Huntsman season heading into finals weekend?
Much more solid, I think, than we were expecting at the start of the season. It's been a massive rebuild year for the Huntsmen. I am new to the team this year, so I previously played for Leeds Samurai, which fell apart this year, unfortunately. So I was previously in the North, and pre-season was I wasn't sure where I was going. And actually me and a teammate, Lizzie Turner, went to the Panthers, and then I ended up going to the Huntsmen. So it's been a really interesting one for obviously that case. And then a lot of the other players went to the Giants. So it's going to be we're all over the place this year. But the Huntsmen have been such a beautiful team to play for. They've been so welcoming. This season has been a rebuild year. So we started off the season with Emily Marsh as our QB. That first game day, I'm sure the South remembers, was a horrible game day. It was a horrible wind. We had 4 games in a row. We didn't have our starting centre, and we came away with 2 wins, 2 losses, which was solid, and it was a lot more solid than I think the girls, we weren't expecting anything. We come into every game day fighting, but I think we were really, really surprised. We pushed, I think, teams more than they were expecting us to as well, especially with the new setup. So Emily really led us in with those first games, and a lot of players who were sort of new or newer to the team really just found their feet. We've got an average age on our team of 18 and a half years old. So I massively skew that. I'm the one that brings it up. And the girls never treat me like, I feel like they make me 10 years younger, and they listen to the experience that I have, which is just beautiful as well. They're just a lovely bunch of girls. So it's been a really interesting year. We've had some tight game days. Going into our last game day, we knew we had to beat the Amazons. I think we had to beat or draw with the Amazons in our first game, or at least one of the games we played with them, to go to finals. And it was the first game of the day and we won. So it made the rest of the game day really lovely. Really lovely. And in the season we picked up a new QB. So the thing with the Huntsmen is we're quite a young team, but we get a lot of players from Loughborough College, Loughborough Uni, and then the schools in the surrounding area, because that part of the country is really back in American football, American flag footballs. We had a few people players join throughout the season. So Artemis Downer came in as one of our QBs, and she's just absolutely taking it in a stride. And it was just a really nice thing to see. We've got an amazing receiver core, and our defense have been absolutely solid. The defense are solid, showing with Cam and Charlotte Deere at the head. So it's been really good.
Yeah, it definitely has. And you actually mentioned it's actually quite funny. I swear I didn't prep Charlotte for this, but she actually brought up what my next question was, which is one thing that stands out about you guys is that you're one of the youngest teams in the league, but at the same time, there's a lot of resilience, especially in kind of the tighter games. How much do you think the youthful energy kind of helps shapes the identity of the team?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think it brings its own challenges. I think there's a lot of nerves before a game day starts. But I think what happens is the more experienced, not necessarily older, but more experienced members of the team, including our coach, Neil, and obviously we've had a new coach sort of step in for defense through the season, Harrison Deere, Charlotte's brother, and he's been so supportive as well, is that we keep them calm and then they bring the energy. That makes sense. So it's a good, nice little balance. I think Ruby Bennett has joined the team this year, and she's is in the youth GB program. I think absolutely stunning. But once, I remember on a game day on a sideline, she was like, "I want feedback. I want you. If you see something, I want you to tell me." And I told her something, and then the next play, she just did it, and I was just like, "That's such coachability." Once we started picking up the wins, I think the girls were a bit like, "Oh, we can actually do this," and kind of started moving towards it. So yeah, it's been really positive. And I think we've lost a few players this year. Obviously we lost Jess Allen to the Cougars, and obviously that was a big hit, but actually the team is such a holistic club culture now. I think I've made some friends for life now here, moving to this team, which, coming from my previous team being a bit of a loss of where am I going, what we're doing, it was just so lovely to kind of come into that thing as well. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Oh, that just made me feel warm and cozy inside. So that was so nice. So to kind of pinpoint some games, so you've actually played 6 games which have been decided by 1 score or less, which is very similar to what the team did last season. And you finished 4-1-1 in games decided by 7 points or fewer, which kind of suggests the team's comfortable in pressure situations. Do you think that allows the Huntsmen to stay composed, win those close games? What do you think is kind of the driving force of that?
Absolutely. I think so. Charlotte Deere has been playing for a really long time, and she leads us a lot in those moments where we're all a bit nervous and a bit like, oh God, what we're doing here. Her, along with Neil, who she's worked with for a long time, and Cam, she came from playing at Nottingham back in the day with Neil. There's a lot of experience there that keeps us grounded in those moments where we know we can't let up. I think I've played in mixed teams for a long time, and I've played in obviously previous women's teams where you can see that moment where either a team gets too complacent or they get too almost worried they're going to lose and end up losing it for themselves anyway. I think we managed to keep that look. We're going to be steady. We're going to drive. We've got the two sort of inexperienced QBs, so we need to keep it sensible, and we need to play sensible. But at the same time, we know when to be clever with it. And I think, especially on our defense, we can be clever with it. Charlotte trusts her team to kind of do what she needs them to do in that moment, and that's what we need sometimes. So yeah, I'm glad that you told me all those stats, because I definitely looked that up before you told us, because you were saying about stats, and I was like, I don't know what we've won and lost. So I think I just go to game days and then I go, oh, we won. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of girls as well that have been picked up in the sort of GB development process recently, and I think a lot of them have been bringing lots of different. They're getting coached in other places. They're bringing a lot of that to the team, and they're bringing some of that, trying to pick up that experience, seeing the players in the league that we play with, and kind of aspiring to be that. And I think that really, really helps as well. And I think it just brings us all kind of together, with it kind of balancing out what experience we have with the energy. It's kind of, you've linked these all in really nicely. It's like you're planned for this. I like the youthfulness and the energy, but also with the experience and the composure of some longer term players. It means in those kind of pinch situations we can do things like this. I know the girls went last year. I've been really lucky enough to go to finals every year since I've been playing. First year I played, we won the plate with the Samurai, and it was such a great feeling. And I said to the girls this year, like, it's such a great feeling. And it's just, but I know that they won't lose their cool when we get there, because I know that everyone is just so excited to be there and they're going to play to the best. We were at training last week and it's all bubbling under the surface. Everyone's like anticipation. So yeah, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure. And then you mentioned as well, kind of in your run through of the season, so your playoff place really came down to game day 5, where you defeated the London Amazons twice, 14-7. I'll give you the stats: 14-7 and 6-0, which clinched your post at your spot. How satisfying was it to deliver those kind of must-win games on that day?
I remember I wasn't able to play much in the first game. Neil kind of put a team on and said, I want to see if this works. We picked up a score really early on in the game, and I was like, Neil, it works, just leave it, it's good, let it. Like, he kept apologising, and I was like, no, let it run, it's fine. And what I was really impressed with on that day is it was Artemis was QBing for the first game, and she had some conversations in training. There's some things I want to do better. She'd really critiqued herself. She's an athlete. She also plays cricket, and she's an athlete in that way. And I said, look, now just calm, be patient, take those deep breaths before you kind of make a decision. And once again, I think that she just sort of listened and she worked with her team and she just drove and made it work. When we got the first score, I think we were pretty comfortable into the half. We were confident we were going well, and I think they then scored and we were getting a bit nervous. I think Neil just reminded us, like, come on, let's just keep pushing. All we need to do is win this game and then we can enjoy the rest of the day. No, it doesn't matter what happens after this, we can enjoy it. So that first win was so sweet, because we then went in to play the Cougars, which we were like, probably not going to win this one, but it meant that we could have, and we play better when we're having fun. I think there's a lot of, I think some teams will say that, but we play a lot better when there's a bit of laughter and joking on the sideline and things as well. Obviously not to distract us, but just to keep us on kind of in a good mood. And I think for the rest of that day, we then lost Artemis for the last game, unfortunately. So we had, was it Artemis, or we had kind of changed up the QBing in the last game, and we still managed to come away with the win, which was just such a sweet feeling. And the weather, again, in the women's playing in the winter season, is just sad. Weather bad. But it started to get a bit darker, it started to get a bit rainy, the ball started slipping through hands, but we were still trying to really keep it tight. And I think our defense, especially in those games, worked so hard for us to keep us in and keep those big stops happening and kind of just chugging forward. So yes, it was very sweet. I remember on the sideline screaming. I don't think I could speak the next day on the at the top of my voice. And Abi was talking about the sideline kind of support that they get on their team days. There are so many partners and friends and family and things that come, especially because we've got younger players, that just keep us all hyped up on the sideline. They're there supporting. Ruby's dad takes so many lovely photos that we've been sharing, and it's just a really kind of a good feeling, and I think that's what pushed us through that last game day.
Yeah, it does seem like the team is just really connected and working together. And it's just like what Abby was saying about how it's not even just the team itself, it's everybody, it's the coaches, it's the family members, it's friends, it's whoever is there supporting you all. Well, now our attention obviously will turn to the quarterfinal against East Kilbride Pirates Black. Who decided that? And I can say that because I've lived around the corner from East Kilbride. Who did that? I'm going to shout at Andy for that. What do you think will be the key for the Huntsmen if you want to continue to progress through the weekend?
Really hard question, because I've played against East Kilbride a few times. Leeds was in the Northern League last year, so I've played some of the teams that are in that northern part, but I know EKP seems to just recruit really rapidly, and again they've got quite a young kind of base that I'm sure the team's changed a lot since I last played against them. I know that obviously lots of teams are doing film study, lots of teams are trying to work things out. I think really what we're going to do is turn up on the day, see how the first couple of drives go, and then really sink into it. I think Neil is doing prep. I know Charlotte's been doing prep. But I think my experience tells me that you can prep all you like, but the team that turns up on the game day could be completely different. They could bring something completely different. They could know that people are film studying and try and throw something different at you. And I think we as a team, especially being young and athletic and things, we should just come as we can, see how it goes. And if it means that we will lose that first game and then we settle into the plate, then that's okay. we're kind of being realistic about our options on the day, but we are going to fight. We're not going to just roll over in the first game. We're going to go and see how it goes. I know EKP had a hard time last year and didn't do what they wanted to do in finals. So maybe that will happen again, or maybe they'll turn around and surprise us. But we would bring in the best that we can. I'm looking forward to playing the girls again. One of my very first seasons, I blitzed Ainsley, I think, when she was like really new to QBing. It's nice. It'll be nice to see them all again and kind of experience that. So yeah, it's going to be really, really good. But yeah, we're going to take it as it comes. You know, the goal, if we do drop out, the goal is for the plate. We're going to be working hard, but you know, we'll see how the day takes us. We're going into finals with a few less people than what we were expecting. It is a lot of travel for some people. And again, we do have a transient sort of in the sense of a basis that some people are away studying, some people's like can't travel at that time, but we're going to bring in lots of people on the sideline. We're going to bring lots of the people who are coming, are clued in, and they're ready. So yeah, it'll just be seeing how it goes.
That's the thing. This is partly the thing I think why I really fell in love with like flag football last year, is that really like anything can happen. Like any team can show up and be really, really impressive on the day. And you're not out until you're out, really, essentially. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think every team fights. And I think you see that, especially in finals, that things happen and surprise you, and you just go, oh God, okay, that wasn't what I was expecting. So the first year I went, we weren't expecting to win the plate, and we did. So, you know, it's just one of those things that happens. So yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Charlotte, and best of luck for the Huntsmen for the playoffs this weekend. So we'll now be joined by Tika from the Manchester Titans, who head into finals weekend after a strong season in the HNC. The Titans finished 10-4, securing the number 3 seed in the HNC, and they'll face London Flame in the quarterfinals. It's another big step forward for the team after a challenging season last year, where they finished plate runners-up and previously were eliminated in the quarterfinals in 2023. So Tika, I want to start with you personally. So last season was obviously tough after suffering an ACL injury, but now you're back representing the Titans, and you've also recently returned from the Team Italy camp. How good does it feel kind of being back, playing again and competing at the level you are at?
Oh, God, I can't explain. It's been such a tough year. I think more mentally than physically. I mean, this is not my first big injury. I've had multiple, unfortunately. But Achilles that was rough. So it was really good I've actually only played one game day. I've been to all the other ones, but I've only played the last one. Is that right? No, sorry, the last two. And I'm playing the finals, thankfully, this year, because I wasn't able to play the finals last year because it was like a week after my surgery. So it's been incredible. It's been great to be back. That's all I can say, really. I'm so happy.
It'll be nice to see you not walking about with the boot and the crutches last year. For people who don't know, she was like walking between all the fields, and I was like, "Tika, go sit down. It's okay." She was like, "No, I need to stand up and watch." And so she was still very committed, even though being in her boot, which is great. But kind of looking at the seasons, game day 4 in Manchester, it felt like a big moment. So the team won 2 out of the 3 games, which secured the place in the finals. But the one lost the day, which was a 40-39 game against the undefeated East Kilbride Pirates Black, might actually probably be one of the most impressive performances of the season. Do you think that game gave the team confidence that you can compete with really anybody in the league?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that last game against EKP was a bit unfortunate. We had a touchdown that was ruled out of bounds. Actually, I caught it and we were unsure. Funny enough, there was a photographer on the sideline. She was like, "It was in bounds, it was in bounds." We were like, well, we can't rely on photographers, unfortunately. And we had codes to set up the goal line in the end. Like, it wasn't ideal. We were so close to win that game. It would have been, they've gone unbeatable, so unbeaten the whole season. So that would have just been a dream. But yes, you're absolutely right. I think it really showed that we can compete against, one of the top teams. And I think it was probably also a surprise to them that game day. So I'm really excited to have another opportunity on finals day to play them again. I mean, not too sure. I do want you guys to win, obviously. I want you to do really well. But at the same time, if we win and if EKP wins, then we get to play them again, which would just be really exciting. Yes, so to answer your question, yes, it does show that we can compete at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest differences this year has been the offense. So you've gone from 25.4 points per game last season to 34.4 this year, which is, I mean, a 10-point jump, essentially, while the defense has still remained to be a really solid part of the team. What do you think has kind of driven that big improvement offensively for you?
I think it's been the fact that we've managed to retain players. We've had multiple seasons where we've just had players going in and out. So we started with an offense. We were familiar with each other. And we've got Sean Perry back, which is just, she had an Achilles injury as well, unfortunately. So we struggled together last year, and she's back and she's a weapon. I mean, we call her GSP for a reason. The ground, Sean Perry, she can throw, she can run, she catches balls. She's incredible. To have Sean back, I think that's been a surprise for a lot of people as well. Because again, like I said, she has multiple skills that people don't know because they haven't seen film maybe from last year. And we've got Erno, one of our new players who was also injured last year, and she's had a really good season, both offense, defense. So props to her. We've had Katie, we've had a new centre, we've had Sarah, our quarterback, which I just still think is one of the best in the league. So no, really strong offense. I think we gel really well. And the fact that we've, like I said, retained most of our players has made a real difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on game day 5 in Edinburgh, the Titans were dominant. So 3 wins from 3, scoring 141 points and conceding just 8. Do you feel the team was really clicking at the right time heading into playoffs?
Yes, we were. I think going back to what I think Charlotte said, or was it Abi maybe, about having fun, that's what I felt like on that game day. People weren't stressed, people weren't nervous, because we've definitely had game days where people were just too anxious for whatever reason, and they were dropping passes, they were not doing what they were meant to be doing, and it was just a bit messy. I think I don't know what the reason was. We went into this game day we all had fun, and it went well. There's definitely a correlation between the two. So I think that was what really drove that day, just positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's London Flame in the quarterfinals. What do you think is going to be the key for the Titans if you want to make a deep run at finals this weekend?
Well, just looked at their stats as well. They've had a really good season. I think quite similar to ours. 113, lost 3, I believe, against the Cougars and the Panthers, which I think they are the top team. So it's quite a bit like us and EKP. We tend to lose against EKP, unfortunately. It's just the top team in the north. No, I think our points were also quite similar. The points conceded and points scored. So it looks like a really good matchup, the Flames. So what we need to do, just be focused, shake off the anxiety, and go into a game day just having fun again, just going back to having fun. I know it's a cliche, but it's been a massive thing for us in our season. We've had so many anxious players, so many players who were just so nervous all the time and just didn't play as they normally would. So I think it's mainly that, just deep breaths and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
This is such a cliche, but that's how it works. And to be fair, we actually do that quite a lot. So before we start, when we feel people are a bit nervous or anxious, like, okay, let's just gather in a circle. Let's just have a few deep breaths. Sarah's really good at our QB. She's really good at picking up people who are nervous. So it helps us to go into a game a bit more contained.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great. I love that though. Well, yep, thank you so much for joining us, Tika, and best of luck to the Titans this weekend. So we're now joined by Joch from London Flame, who head into finals weekend after another strong season. So Flame finished 13-3, securing the number 2 seed in the MSC, and they'll face the Manchester Titans in the quarterfinals. It's only the team's second season after debuting last year and finishing third. So it's been an impressive rise in a short space of time. Joch, it's been a busy week for you. We've been on the One Show. We're now on the Tartan Touchdown Chat Show today. How has it been seeing the sport kind of really get this kind of exposure and attention?
Let's see. Honestly, I think it's amazing. The ladies in here can attest for that. Like a sport that you just started as a hobby, seeing how it's growing so fast, so quickly. How a lot of young people are starting to understand what it means to play such a sport. And I think as well, not just it being in the UK, but across the world as well. Nationally, Great Britain, Italy, these teams that are actually out there playing this sport, and how it's changing lives as well. Understanding how we make a difference, not just on the field, but like in the classrooms and also in, the offices and everything. And I think, we can attest that we are part of this change. Every single one of us, every single person that picks up a football, that coaches, that, helps you with your technique. I think I'm just grateful to be here. At a time as this, I'm just very, very grateful to be here because honestly, I know football changed my life, and I can say that it definitely changed a lot of other people's lives. And honestly, I can't wait to see how far it goes and the growth that is gonna see soon. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's such an exciting time to be a fan of the sport and be even a small part of it. It's absolutely incredible, and you're so right about the global scale of it, because even you look at the teams in like over in Australia and Asia, like it's absolutely wild. And obviously we're all gearing up to the Olympics soon. But yeah, it's just a great time to be part of it for sure.
Definitely.
Last year at finals, you made a huge impact, including that spectacular touchdown against East Kilbride Pirates that really announced flame on the national stage. And a number of you obviously then went on to represent Great Britain over the summer. How do you think playing for London Flame helped prepare you for playing for Great Britain?
Okay, well, how can I put this in words? I think being able to play against the women that we play with as teammates, I think that's what it is. I won't lie to you, I see the players on the field and other teams like the Cougars, the Manchester Titans, all these teams, being able to play with these women is like, it encourages you, pushes you. And I think, I don't know, it's just like, it's exciting. Like Abi said earlier, like the culture of it now is different. Like, I think it's just going out there and you're like, wow. Like I remember when she done a release on me and had me sprinting to keep up with her so that she didn't catch the ball. And it's like, now I can actually learn that. I think for women, this is the highest level in the UK for us. And it's like to be able to play every month or like every season amongst each other, I think is the most important thing for me. Being able to grow and develop. And Great Britain, I think, was like, a lot of us can say is like, it's not easy. It's not something you just go in and because I'm this person. Like, no, like you got to work for it. And I think that work ethic amongst our teams pushes us to do that as well, because we know that there's a lot of great teams out there in the UK. And there's like, the women teams are not just teams that will allow you to, they won't open the door for you to come in and win. No, you've got to work for it. You've got to put in the work. You've got to, build the culture. Like for example, that Panthers, we listened to the podcast. You guys bond. And it's like, okay, as a team, we're like, okay, maybe that might be a reason why, we may not have done as great as we wanted to. And it's like, it now pushes us, okay, now that we're at GB now, okay, we may not bond the best in our local teams, but if we want to be able to reach a higher level, like not just locally, not just in the UK, globally, like being third in the world is not something like, do you know what I mean? Culture changes is pushing us to our wits end, like to the point where we are breaking down. We are like, okay, it's tough, it's tough, but I think it sets the tone, the foreshadowing of playing against these other women in the league. And I think it's nice to see competition. Is nice, it's healthy competition, but also understanding even when we are not playing together as teammates, the development, the growth, and it pushes us so that once we do get to that level of teammates at GB, you're like, all right, you may not be someone I may play with forever, but right now I gotta push myself. I gotta show that I'm on the field for you and you're on the field for me, and we're putting everything that we've learned together and working hard. And I think last year was just a great development of everything. The women's game, it was just beautiful to see. But honestly, that's a lot of words, but yeah,
no, perfect. And then obviously this season started just 1 week after the Euros final for players like yourself, Kate, and obviously Coach Meg. How difficult was it to switch kind of that flip straight away from international football and kind of back into the domestic season so quickly, and especially the weather?
Listen, shout out to Kate. That's what I gotta say. Shout out to Kate, because Kate is always on go, but it's like she's always also able to kind of help us to transition between that, especially with me and Meg being fairly new into like the whole international scene. It wasn't easy, I'll be very honest with you, but that's when it comes in with one of the ladies mentioned earlier, like the mental, I think it was Tika, the mental, being able to understand that sometimes your body can physically do it, but mentally being able to come in and be like, okay, right, all right, my body doesn't feel 100% from the beginning of, the year, but right now, let's slowly build into it. It's the first game day. We're not rushing ahead to think about the next game days. It's this game day and what we need to do. Mainly as well, understanding that we've been practicing, we've been training. I think the benefit for us was we've been training, we've been working on our skills and stuff. So we can't say we're not prepared. It's just more so mentally and being able to bring that information we've learned and all the skills we've learned together into our team. And I think this year our team was very big on chemistry, in a sense of, because there's a lot of new people, you know, and everything, and we're just like, okay, right, you know, everybody has a 1% that brings to the team to make it a whole 100%. And I think coming from Euros, I think the finals was like a big thing for me, because I've never been on such a huge stage like that. And I think, you know, pushing through, working with teammates who have been there and teammates who haven't, and I think it was just that high, but also knowing when to bring it back down so that you know how to play, because not all your teammates have been in that environment or been in such a high stage, high place. And I think it was awesome to have such an experience to bring back and be like, all right, cool. So it's like, now being the normal jock that I am, like, okay, guys, ladies, let's go. What we doing? How we preparing for game day? One game at a time. What do we need to work on? Who is fairly new? Who still needs that more encouragement? You know, just also playing against teammates as well. Oh, it was when we were playing against each other. I was literally with you last week, and now I can't kiki and laugh with you because it's like, I can, but I don't want to lose, right? And you don't want to get distracted. But I think it was just also a very important learning process of how to differentiate. You know, sometimes you do have to separate. Sometimes you have to make that, you know, separation just for the benefit, as Abi said, for your team. You know, I don't want you to lose, but I don't want you to win. That's what I'm saying, isn't it? Yeah.
Sometimes that's just how it's got to be, right? It's fine. There's no hate. It's all good. Last year you needed a win on the final game day just to reach the playoffs. But this season, you all come out flying with a 10-0 start, which included a huge statement win over defending champions Coventry Panthers on game day 3. What do you think was behind such a strong start to the season this time around?
I feel like it was definitely preparation. Obviously, you can never be like 100% prepared, but I think understanding our strengths and, you know, utilizing that, coaches, you know, having plans set in place, and players as well pushing themselves 100%. The captain this year was amazing. Me being a co-captain alongside her, just that understanding of, okay, ladies, like, we can only play the best of our game. We can't play anyone else's game but our own game. Stepping in and, you know, doing what we need to do. Ironing out things that we definitely struggled with the previous year. I think that consistency, the ability to just consistently move the ball, constantly work, pull tags, whatever it is. And, you know, just moving around, giving people opportunity to play outside of their, you know, their comfort zone. I think that was a very big thing for us, outside of our comfort zone. I think the challenge, we knew it wasn't going to be easy. You know, reigning champs is like, they're not, as I said, they're not going to open the door for us to walk in and just, you know, we expected for ourselves to kind of have to work for it. And I think that's the kind of mindset that kind of pushed us and gave us the ability to, you know, work together. And I think that sense of also chemistry, once again, I mentioned earlier, it was a gradual process of, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get it done? But we managed to get it done because one step at a time, working together, coaches saying something, yes, coach, you know, not arguing back. I think as women, we tend to, you know, I don't agree, you know, but I think this year there was less of that and more of, you know what, fair enough. You know, I hate that. Let's try it out. If it doesn't work, we'll try another way. And I think that was an easier thing for us this year, to kind of just understand what's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, and going from there. That's what I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right though. Sometimes somebody tells me, I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not even listening. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta just lock in and agree, right? You go, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. And then it sucks. And then it sucks when it's actually right. And you go, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah. Okay, fine, we'll do it next time. But even kind of towards the end of the season, the team showed how competitive you are against the top teams, with tight games against the Cougars and the Panthers. And now you face the Manchester Titans in the quarterfinals. What do you think is going to be key for Flame if you want to make another deep run at the finals this weekend? Without giving, obviously, you've all given really good answers without giving anything away.
If I said, I'm probably going to get kicked off. Let's be careful. Yeah, I think we're very excited because I believe this may be our first time playing you ladies. Last year, did we play you guys? I don't remember.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I didn't think we played you guys last year. So, yes, it was not the moment.
Yeah, like Tika said, we haven't played them, so I think this is new territory, right? I definitely think for third in our first year being formed as a team is something that is a wow factor. You know, the Coventry Panthers and Coventry Cougars have been playing, showing how it works, how to be out there. But I think for us is, we went back to the drawing board, and as I mentioned, I'm going to keep repeating one step at a time what works best for us and how we can go out there and execute. Having a young quarterback like Matilda go out there and step up and do greatness is like, we're willing to back her. And, having also players like Kate who have a lot of experience but are also willing to listen and also to take ideas from other players. And people like me who are just happy to be there. Like, honestly, I'm just like, as long as I don't miss the tag, I'm great, I'm good, but it's just having different types of components to the team, I think is very important, because everyone has their purpose, everybody has their, their skill. And having great people on our team like Meg, who just keeps us going, oils the rig to everything, having that ability to just gel together, play together, studying, ladies who are fairly new to the sport, helping her understand what it means to watch film. I've been playing for like 5 years. I'm still learning what it means to actually watch film. Like, honestly, actually watch film, what am I trying to get from that? And also as well, just ironing out, creases that we need to iron. You can never catch too many footballs in a week. You can never pull too many tags in a week. You can never destroy a hamstring with a foam roller if you feel tight. Do you know what I mean? The basic things. Sometimes as well, having your teammates to talk about, I feel nervous about this. I've never been in this situation. I want to be able to play my best, but I feel like this is going to stop me. Soft out. Someone like me who's always very encouraging doesn't mean I don't go through the same things. And it's just how we can come together as a team. I think last year was a glimpse of what is possible. And this year, I'm not trying to start nothing, but I'm just saying, like, we would love to also be in the position that, Coventry Panthers were in last year. And it's like, it means we have to fight. It means that we have to leave everything on the field, resilience, competitiveness, ability to, okay, that didn't work. Let's get back up. Let's push, players. We've got GB players playing against us. We can't, let everything just, go in front of us and expect things to happen. But we have to know that we're going to be playing against great athletes. And that is something that we need to match, in that sense that we have to trust that we are also great athletes as well. And I'm just excited. I'm always grateful to touch the field, to be able to play against talented women. And I just can't wait to just see how it plays out, because Flame are coming with some fire. Pun intended.
No, I love that. Yeah, totally. I'm extremely excited for this weekend. So I thank you so much for joining us, Joch, and best of luck to London Flame this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Which sadly brings us to the end of today's show. So first of all, I just want to thank the four of you for joining. So Abi, Charlotte, Tika and Joch, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this evening and having a good old chat ahead of finals.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
No problem. So yeah, a huge thank you to all of the players who joined us. It's been great hearing the stories behind the teams heading into what promises to be an incredible finals weekend. If you want to see all of this action unfold, Finals Day takes place on Saturday the 14th of March at the Ravenscraig Regional Sports Facility in Wishaw in Scotland, where the best teams from across the country will battle out for the championships. It's shaping up to be a fantastic day of flag football, so if you're nearby, make sure to come down and support the teams. If anybody had told me last year when I had came and watched finals, I would then be up on a transatlantic flight on a stream watching the World Games and then coming back and watching Euros, I never ever would have believed you. So just anything is possible. As always, make sure you're subscribed to Tartan Touchdown on YouTube and all podcast platforms so you never miss an episode, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for all the latest content. We will be there on finals day shooting some content, talking to some of the players. So we'll be posting all the results as they come in. So enjoy finals weekend, and we'll see you next time on Tartan Touchdown.